I'm Alyssa Lane, and welcome to the LifeKraft podcast. LifeKraft is passionate about helping you live your everyday life better by sharing inspiration, awareness, and tools to enable you to create a fulfilling life. The holiday season can be a time of connection, joy, fun, a time to make memories and celebrate the year that has passed. But research has shown that this can be a time filled with the most conflict in families due to stress, miscommunication, and the works. So we asked you, the LifeKraft community, what the things were that you struggled the most with when it came to family dynamics over the holiday season. And in this episode, relationship and life coach Leah Sefor will be helping you by giving you practical advice to help you navigate this season in a healthier, more authentic way. Enjoy the episode. Leah, welcome back to the LifeKraft podcast. It's an honor to have you here today, and we are going to be talking about a topic that I think is so necessary at this time of year. I know I was sitting back one day on my couch and thinking, if I could have a life coach, if I could have a resource on this podcast, if I could have someone to help me with something over the holiday season, what would it be? And I thought about things like family dynamics during the holiday season. And I thought, who better to ask to help us navigate family dynamics than the amazing Leah Sefor, who has a book called That's Not What I Meant, The Smart Savvy Guide to Real Communication. Go and get that. The link will be down below in the description. But welcome, Leah.
Thank you, my darling. I love having chats with you, and it just gets so real with you. And I love that you address the topics that are really important for people, and that so many people don't want to bring up because they think it's silly, or they think they're the only ones going through it, or nobody else is experiencing this. And this is what I always aim to do with my work, is please get that everybody is thinking this, everybody is going through this, they're just not talking about it. So these topics are really important, and this is a big one. And I've never really kind of understood the hugeness that people put onto this holiday situation with family. Like people tend to do this very weird compartmentalization thing that from January to November, they're fine with their families. And then suddenly December is like, oh no, God, I got to be with my family. I just don't understand people's mentality. And I think it's just a bad habit. You are stuck in a bad habit of behavior and thinking when it comes to the festive season. And then you set it up to be a drama. You're already setting it up before the month has even arrived, and you're already creating that resistance and that tension and, oh no. So what do you think is going to happen if that's how you're thinking about it? So let's talk a bit today about how we can change our thinking around all of this.
Wow. Yes, I never thought about it like that. So many times we'll go to family gatherings and everything will be fine throughout the year. And it's kind of like it is in diet culture. I figured out that December is the ultimate cheat day in so many people's minds. They really will just put their health to the side for an entire month. And it's the same mentality with a week where you'll be good in inverted commas for 5 days and then you'll have a cheat day. But some of the people have sent in questions for you that I would really like us to get to, because I saw that these questions come up quite a lot, not only in my own life, but in research and in all of the questions that came in. One of the things that people kept getting back to is, I change or I revert back to who I used to be when I'm around my family at this time of year. Why does that happen? I know it happens to everyone. We kind of revert back all of the amazing growth and self-development we've gone through. And the person that we are from January to November just kind of disappears when you walk into your parents' house. Why does that happen?
Because you haven't healed the wounds. You haven't done the work on your relationship with your parents. And all of that childhood stuff that you have not worked through, or that you like to convince yourself you've worked through, but in reality you haven't, is, the universe is really going to put a big mirror up in front of you to say, hey, you can't keep pretending that there isn't some issue going on here. And you've got to have the real conversations with your parents. And people will avoid these conversations. I know people in their 60s who will avoid having conversations with their parents because, it's people use statements like, well, what's the point? And why do I need to rehash all of that? And that's in the past. And, what's it going to do to start a big fight? And you're assuming that any communication with your parents is going to end up in a fight. And it won't necessarily. But, if you're carrying a lot of stuff around, things that happened, things that were said, events that occurred that haven't been resolved, then I can guarantee you, your parents are carrying just as much energy about it as well. And you walk into the house and the energy is there of that silent thing that nobody is talking about. And that is what creates the tension, that we sit around the Christmas table and, maybe your parents would just, favored a sibling over you for some event 3 months earlier and you're pissed off about that. Maybe your parents never came to your final sports event for your final year at school and you're still carrying energy about that. Maybe you did something or said something really dismissive or disregarding to your parents and they're carrying stuff about that. And we kind of expect family to just deal with this stuff because they're family. And we go, oh, but that's just family and we fight and that's normal. Well, not resolving it is not normal. So, of course, when you arrive home for Christmas, like all of that stuff is going to still be simmering and it's still going to be there. So a good exercise is to actually journal a bit about what stuff has happened with me and my family. So when I'm saying family, I mean your parents, your siblings, or whoever your caregivers are. Some people's parents have passed and they were raised by grandparents or aunts and uncles or, whoever the immediate family is that you're going to be spending holiday with. You've got to do a little bit of a pre-game, workout here of what is unresolved stuff I'm carrying about this person that maybe I can actually take the time now before the end of November to get in touch with them and say, listen, I know we're going to be spending time together in December. There's some stuff that's been a bit tense between you and me. I'd really love to clear that so we can have a wonderful time together. Don't wait until you're at the Christmas table to have these conversations. Like clear it out now, end the year with clarity within your relationships, and then that stuff can be released.
I love that. Pre-paving, setting yourself up for a win, if I could put it that way. And I don't think we always think about this, especially this time of year, because we're so busy and there are so many deadlines and things are just go, go, go. And when we get there, everyone's kind of relaxed and it was a whole year's worth of pressure on them. And these things do tend to seep out then. So how can we stay in a healthy frame of mind, even when we are in a situation where we might be triggered by a family member or something someone said? Because I know a lot of times you'll get there with the best intentions. You're happy to see everyone. And then something that you might have not even thought of would pop up, or someone says something or does something. And a lot of times it has nothing to do with you, if you want to be quite honest. But it is a family type of thing. And if it's a family thing, everyone feels the same way around that. How can you navigate to keep calm, to stay in a healthy frame of mind, no matter what the family dynamics are?
Just don't engage. People can invite you to the chaos. You don't have to accept the invitation.
What does that look like?
Well, there's someone starts, some people are a bit drunk. Someone at the table says something to someone around the table, like, you always do this. You're always late. You've got no respect for the family. And like every time we do something, you just can never arrive. What is that with you? And then the others, yes, no, you couldn't arrive on time for my birthday party and you were late to my wedding. And it now becomes this general attack. Don't participate in the conversation. So you can, this is also, if this is the time that they all want to get into this, don't try to enforce yourself as the peacekeeper, because then you become the enemy. Because the peacekeeper tends to want to go, guys, don't talk about this now. This isn't the time. I think any time for a real conversation is great. Why is there this like preciousness around the Christmas table? Like Christmas, if it is genuinely a religious holiday for you, and you are facing this day because of what the religious meaning of it is for you, and you are going to church service, and that is where the importance of this holiday is for you, great. But in my experience, for most people, it's just a day of eating great food and giving presents. The sacredness of what the religious element of it is lost for many, many people. So it's another day that you're sitting at the table with your family. And if this is the day that stuff's going to come out, let it come out so it can be healed and let go of. So you can also say, you know, guys, I actually think it's great that this topic is coming up. I think there's a lot of pain in all of us around this issue, but let's not attack each other. So why don't we go around the table? Everybody gets their 5 minutes to talk about how they feel about this issue. We're all going to listen. We all want this to be resolved. And then everybody gets a platform to speak about this. But screaming at each other and all jumping on the bandwagon, this is not what I signed up for. And if this is how you guys are going to engage, I'm going to leave and go home and have Christmas by myself. Thanks. So you can either propose a solution of what is a healthier way to have this conversation, or you can choose to remove yourself from the engagement. You don't have to participate. And don't get roped into when someone says, well, what do you think about this? You can say, I'm not participating in this conversation right now. I'm here to have a wonderful time with my family. This is not why I came here today. And if this is how you guys want to behave, that's really great. I'm just going to not participate. Goodbye. And get up and leave.
Yes, so much yes. I've started to get up and leave, and it's scary the first time. You're kind of shaking your way out the door, but it really is one of the most liberating things just to be in that space where you set the boundary first. If they don't honor your boundary, you don't ask them to change or the situation to change. You just leave. A boundary is something you do for you. It's not something you do for them. And every single time I've done it, I had to program my mind not to care about their reaction too.
And they're going to have a reaction. The reaction is going to be there. And I love what you said is that it's what I have to do. It's an action. Boundaries are action. You can sit at the table and go, if you guys carry on, I'm going to leave. No, seriously. If you keep doing this, I'm going to go. You can keep threatening it with words, or you can just silently stand up and go, goodbye. It's going to be like a bombshell goes off at the table because everybody's going, what do you mean? And you can go, this is not what I came here for today. This happens every year. I'm not participating in this behavior anymore. So you have your fight. I'm leaving. And then they'll go, no, sit down. We won't go. No, listen, I think it's great. I think you all clearly need to have this conversation because you're all carrying energy about it. I'm not carrying energy about it. I don't need to be here. So cheers, and walk out the door. It galvanizes people when you get into action and walk your talk. Commit to the consequence and walk away. Walk away. And then afterwards, people can come and they're going to throw everything at you. That was a family meal. Do you know that and the guilt that's going to be laid on with people because of COVID? We haven't been able to sit together for 18 months, and this is how you treat us, and we haven't had time together. You know, time together has to work for everybody around the table. A family get-together has to add value to everybody who is in that get-together. And if you are in a get-together, even if it is the first time you are seeing your family and it is making you feel small, you are feeling irritated, they are making attacks against you, it's turning into an uncomfortable space, leave. You don't have to force yourself to stay in a toxic environment because you haven't seen your family for a year. You get to choose what types of environments you want to put yourself in. And people are spent at the moment.
Yeah.
People are raw. People have suffered huge trauma, huge loss, huge shock through this pandemic. This is the base state that everybody is bringing to the Christmas table. So you can acknowledge that. And maybe even you want to send a communication out on your family WhatsApp group or email to say, I'm saying ahead of time that I'm aware this has been a year of hell for all of us. And my intention of what I would love to experience around the table or in this family holiday together is nurturing, is support, is compassion, is understanding, sharing stories about what we've personally been through. What I am not interested in is old family dramas being rehashed, attacking kind of the would have, could have, should have conversations. You can actually set the tone by sending a communication beforehand to say, this is where we all are at. Can we respect that? And this is how I want to be. But if this is what you guys are going to engage in, be very clear that the minute this behavior starts, I'm leaving. And if that literally means I'm getting in my car and driving back home, or I'm getting a flight and I'm going back home, I'm leaving, because I cannot invite one more traumatic experience into my life right now. So set the tone beforehand of what the expectations are around Christmas and around the family holiday.
I love that. Set the tone beforehand and then absolutely set the boundary when you're there. It's brilliant. I love that. So many people also mentioned the fact that they don't know how to communicate around the biggest topic of the year, I think, the vax versus anti-vax conversation. And I thought that I can't bring this up, but then I was thinking that it's actually true for so many other family dynamics as well. A lot of us have grown up in enmeshed families where the way that we have to think has to be, the entire family has to agree on one topic, and that's what the family does, and this is who the family is. But now something like this has come up that really can have a lot of different viewpoints in one family. That was one of the questions, can I ask my parents and my family beforehand not to bring up this topic? Or should it be something that I'm comfortable with just keeping my opinion to myself? That was something someone asked.
I think it's both. Look, I think it's a very important thing, this vax versus anti-vax. And I think people are also just like tired of it now. I think everybody has a right to make their own choices. You can get into raging arguments about this. Everybody's going to get into their righteousness about their point of view being the right one. Like at the end of the day, who's winning out of this? So I think it's an important thing to specify what I really am not interested in discussing around the family table at Christmas time is these topics, vax versus anti-vax. I don't want the topic to be about all the loss and the death that has happened. I don't want the topics, I know it sounds like you are being very limiting in this, but literally, if you are just doing a family lunch, it's one day. It is one day of the whole year. So can we just frame what we want this experience to be like and leave all that other crap at the door? If it is a whole family holiday, even more important to say, these are topics that are banned in conversation for the entire family holiday. And you can make it fun. You can go, if one of you mentions vax, you have to put 100 Rand in the jar. Like not the swear jar, you're having the vax jar. And anyone who does it puts money in the jar. And then we can take that money and all go out for a nice lunch. So you can also bring some like humor and fun into it. It doesn't have to be all heavy and serious, but you can say, we all have our opinions. All of us have been fighting about this for the last few months. Like this December is not the time for us to continue the fight. So some of you want to wear masks, some of you don't want to wear masks. Some of you think because you're vaxxed, you're immune, carry on with that delusion. But whatever, I'm not going to get into it. So yes, I think you've got to specify what are the topics, or we're not having one more conversation about Uncle Dan's drinking habits. We are not going to have one more conversation about the fact that so-and-so can't get a job, and is a layabout and smokes dope all day. Like, that there are the family conversations about particular family members that becomes like the fodder at the table. Like, stop allowing it. Yeah. That is like low consciousness conversations. And you want to look at high consciousness conversations with your family at the end of the year. And those are things like, what are amazing, inspiring books that you've read? What are great movies that you've seen? What is an interesting series you're watching that's raising a lot of questions for you about world events? What's an interesting TED Talk that you have seen? If there is something you'd really love to do in the new year, everybody takes a turn to say, this is an intention I have for myself for the year. And then everybody else at the table goes, great, how can we support you getting that? What resource do you need? How can we get behind you? You can make it like a gratitude day. Like, what is stuff that you've been really grateful for about this year? You can raise the consciousness of what family holidays and family dinners look like around Christmas. But don't go into that low frequency conversation. It's just nobody wins.
That's brilliant. And it's such great advice. And I have spoken to so many people in regards to the next question, how to deal with quote unquote toxic in-laws came up a lot, and toxic family members. The questions that I got in regards to the in-laws was, I can't speak up for myself. I can't communicate with them well. It feels like my husband or my partner needs to do that, and because it's his family and we're going to his family for the holidays. How can people handle quote unquote toxic in-laws and family members that might say something triggering, that might not respect boundaries that you put up, that might read that email you sent out and say, flip you, I'm going to say what I want to say when I want to say it because I'm that person in the family. How do you deal with that?
Okay, first of all, it is never your partner's job to rescue you from their family. Never. Don't make them, the buffer, the in-betweener. If it's real for them, if they feel that their own family is behaving out of order and they want to say something of their own volition, great. That's up to them. But I see this way too often in relationships where let's just take a typical heterosexual relationship where the woman will say to the man, I don't like the way your mother speaks to me. You need to do something about it. No, you need to do something about it. It's your relationship with her, not his relationship with her. And we have to keep our lines of relationships very clear here. My lines of relationship in a family, if I'm the wife, I've got a relationship with my husband, that's 1. I've got a relationship with my husband's father, that's 2. I've got a relationship with my husband's mother, that's 3. And an individual relationship with each of his siblings if he has siblings. This is not, I have a single relationship with the family unit that is my husband's family. I have got individual relationships with each member of his family. And my relationship with his mother has got nothing to do with my relationship with the father, with him, or with his siblings. So why am I expecting them to get involved in that line of communication with the mother? So it's to, and everybody gets very nervous about this, but you're going to have to like big girl panty time, and either beforehand you can message the mother or say, can we go out for coffee? And you can say to her, my experience on the last few family holidays we've had is that you speak to me in a really degrading way in front of the family, or you speak to me like I'm not good enough, or you make these statements that make me feel really uncomfortable. Now, I'm aware that you may not even be aware that you are saying or doing this stuff, because most people really are unconscious with their communication. They don't know. And it's not something that I'm willing to carry on experiencing. So I want to have this relationship. I want to have this communication with you because I want our relationship to be great. But I've also got boundaries of how I will allow myself to be spoken to and treated. And I just wanted to speak to you today to say this is actually not something I'm willing to continue with in our relationship. If we are at the family dinner and you say this to me again, I will get up and I will leave the table. If we are out and you do this thing again, I will get up and I will walk away. So you are putting the boundary in place before the event happens. You are telling that person what the consequence is going to be before the event happens. And then when the event happens, as it probably will, you're going to get up and you're going to walk away. And remember what you said earlier, like action is required for boundary, not talking, action. And you get up and you walk away. And then everybody's going to go, wait, where are you going? What are you doing? And I can't believe that you got up. And you can say to her, I had this conversation with you. I told you exactly what I was going to do if this happened again. And I will do it again. I will not allow myself to be spoken to or treated like this again. So however many times I've got to get up and leave the table for you to get that reality, I will do it. And if your husband comes to you or your partner comes to you and goes, that was so rude and I'm so embarrassed and I can't believe you can say, I'm not interested in your embarrassment. This is my boundary. I have spoken to you about the way your parents speak to me again and again. It's not your job to do something about it. It's my job to do something about it. But what it is your job to do as my partner is to support me in my boundary setting.
Goosebumps.
So have the conversation with your partner before it happens and say, I've taken your mom out for lunch. We had this conversation today and I'm telling you that if this happens again, I'm walking away, just so that everybody knows what's going to happen. So yeah, your job to handle the toxicity in your life of what you will and won't allow, especially when it comes to family.
Leah, that is powerful. And I love the way that you communicate with them first. Then if they don't honor your boundary, you take the action that is necessary, whatever you said. Now I'm sitting here thinking about some of my own experiences and about a lot of my clients' experiences and friends. In that moment where you speak to that quote unquote toxic family member and you tell them how they make you feel and you put up your boundary and they gaslight you and they pretend like they never did that or that there's something wrong with you.
But expect it.
How do you handle that? Because I always think it's not always as simple as someone saying, yes, sure, I'll try my best to do that. And if they don't, then you take your action. What if they just go off the rails and say, they never do that. You're typically that person, you're so sensitive, all of those things that are usually said when you set a boundary.
You simply just say to them, well, that's your point of view. It's not mine. That's your perspective. It's not my reality. That may not be what you think is going on. That is absolutely not how I'm experiencing it. So you can acknowledge that they think, of course, expect the gaslighting, expect the defensiveness, expect the reaction.
Expect
it. It will be there. And the more toxic they are, the more the reaction is going to be. And this is what stops people communicating their truth, is because they are fearful of the reaction. So, like role play this conversation in your head. I'm going to say this. I know that this is how they're going to respond. Okay, well, then be prepared for that response. And if the response is a gaslighting, go, well, you may be in denial about your own behavior, but my experience is absolutely my truth. And you stand your ground. No, I can't believe you're doing this year. Everyone loves to do the guilt thing. This time of year, I'm so lonely. I've got no one else in my life. I can't believe you're doing this to me. Go, well, I'm sure you'll figure it out. This is still my truth, and I'm sticking with it.
I love that. The confidence in them to figure it out is beautiful. Yeah,
but like empower them to stop being committed to their sad story and laying it at your feet. So, they're going to pull out every weapon in their arsenal. Toxic people will always pull out the weaponry to manipulate you back into control. So be very awake to that. And they will use guilt. They will use shame. They will use anger. They will use gaslighting. They're going to use a whole lot of emotional manipulation tools. Don't fall for it. Just stand back. And the more silent you are, the better. Don't be roped into defending your position. Come here today to say ABC. What? But I never did that. Well, that might be your experience, but it's not my truth. My reality is that you do this to me every single time. Last time you did it, this is the time. Come with facts, by the way. You said it this time. The last time we went out, this is what you did. The last family dinner, this is how you behaved. No, but it's not what I meant. It is exactly what you meant, and you know it. So this is behavior. Nobody else calls you on this. I'm calling you on this, and I'm not doing it anymore. Well, I think that you're being totally unreasonable. Well, that's great. And then I'm being completely unreasonable, but it's still my truth. I think you're being totally ungrateful. Great. Then I'm being totally ungrateful, and it's still my truth. So whatever they throw at you, just own it. And go, you're right. Maybe I'm being totally unreasonable, ungrateful ass, and it's still my truth.
Yes. Oh, that's powerful.
Don't let yourself get manipulated.
That might be your perception, but it's not my truth. Leah, I think that has really been the powerful point that I wanted for this entire discussion. Family dynamics are strange, but they can be wonderful and beautiful. And I think that where our focus goes is what we'll experience. So just to stay focused on all the good that is there, the fact that you do have family, the fact that there are people that are in your corner and have your back. And even if you feel like they don't, you've got you. And if you have a mindset like Leah, and what she teaches, you'll be fine no matter what, because you'll live your truth and your authentic life. I want to encourage everyone to pick up your book. That's Not What I Meant. Where can people find out more about you, find your book, all of those great things?
My website's got all my details. So it's leahsefor.com. And my book is available all major bookstores in South Africa. So Exclusive Books, Reader's Warehouse, Bargain Books. Online, you can get it from Takealot and from Loot. And the Kindle version is available on Amazon.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Leah.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode and taking the time to invest in yourself and in your future. If you loved this episode, be sure to share it with us by leaving a positive review or tagging us in a post or in your stories. Share one thing that stood out or inspired you to live your everyday life better. This helps us create more meaningful episodes for you to enjoy. If you're not already following us on social media, be sure to follow @LifeKraft for more inspiration and tools to help you live your most powerful life. And remember, you always have the power to craft a better life for yourself, and we are here to help you do just that. We'll connect again in the next episode, and until then, keep creating a life that you're excited to wake up to. We enjoy bringing you interviews from experts and everyday people so that they can talk about their experiences and share information, tips, and what has worked for them on their journey towards a better life. However, remember that the opinions or advice of our guests and myself, the host, should not be taken as personal, actionable advice and is given as general information and education only. Please always remember to consult a qualified professional before implementing any medical, financial, legal, or other advice that you believe might work for you. LifeKraft is not responsible nor liable for your decision when implementing anything you hear on the podcast. Please listen and act responsibly. The opinions of our guests do not represent the opinions or views of LifeKraft or Melissa Lane personally and are meant as information and general education only. Education only. Education only.